Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, June 19th. Hope everyone's a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. We've got a lot to get into here today on Monday. It is, in fact, June 19th here today. We are flying through this month. We are getting closer and closer to the month of July. Hope everybody enjoyed the weekend. A whole lot going on. You had a lot of baseball. You obviously had the championship parade for the Vegas Golden Knights. You've got, obviously, golf going on. And, that was about it. You also got the College World Series continuing throughout this upcoming week. Obviously, the road to Omaha, which is it's obviously there, but the road to the finals continues in the College World Series. So definitely been checking that out a little bit over here over the past couple days. It was a weekend full of baseball. It was a very disappointing weekend. We're going to get right into that today. We're going to talk about the Yankees to start today's show. I don't really know where this is going to go. I've got a lot of notes to get to. I've got a lot of things to touch upon here on this episode. The Yankees are pathetic. They're embarrassing. They are flat out playing bad baseball, and I'm sorry to tell you, but this team's going nowhere. And we kind of knew this going into the season, and here we are sitting here on June 19th, just like we've done every year now for the past couple seasons. This Yankee team led by Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, and Aaron Boone, I like to call them the Three Stooges, are going absolutely nowhere. It is embarrassing. It is pathetic. The Yankees are in the middle of another lost season because of this roster and the way this roster is built. And the people that are building this roster, it is embarrassing. It is pathetic on so many levels. And let's be honest here, we knew this was coming. And here we are yet again, witnessing a collapse of another Yankee team live in the middle of June where they're playing horrible baseball. And again, without Aaron Judge, this team's nothing. And that's a direct reflection on the GM, Brian Cashman, who has done little to nothing in the last 5-6 seasons with this Yankee ball club. So we'll get into that. I also want to get into a little bit of NBA news. A big-time trade went down the other day. Bradley Beal to the Washington Wizards, or Bradley Beal from the Wizards to the Suns. Suns make a blockbuster deal. Bring in Bradley Beal, a guy that's obviously been out there really over the past couple seasons with the no-trade clause. It made it hard for teams to go after him, but he finally gets traded. He finally gets dealt. The Phoenix Suns now create a big three with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Now, on paper, that looks good, but there's one issue. The Suns have no depth. They don't have a bench. So there's an issue there when you look at what the Wizards gave up. They gave up what the Wizards get. The Suns gave up CP3. They gave up Landry Shamet, who's one of their better bench pieces. They got a very good starting five, but they don't got much depth. So we'll break it. We'll get into this deal. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down and get into what this means for both sides, the Wizards and obviously the Suns, bringing in Bradley Beal and creating another big three, which Kevin Durant is a part of once again. Was a part of the big three in OKC with Harden and Westbrook. Was a part of the Warriors' big three with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. If you want to throw Draymond Green in there as well, make it a big four, go ahead. They were a dynasty. They won back-to-back championships, all that good stuff. Went to Brooklyn at a big three, failed. And now he's trying another big three with two new faces, Bradley Beal and obviously Devin Booker, who he joined last year at the trade deadline from the Nets to the Suns. So we'll get into that later on. I also just want to quickly take a note to thank you all for the support. We just hit 100 subscribers yesterday, 101 subscribers right now. I know it's a small goal. I know it's nothing major, but we did hit, triple digits. Finally got over. We were in the 90s there for about, a couple weeks, about a month. And we hit like 95. And then there was like that 2-3 week period where we weren't hitting much. And then obviously just recently we were surpassed 101 subscribers. So I want to thank you all for that. It means a lot. It's a very small goal along the road here. Obviously, as a YouTube, as a content creator, you always have your minor goals, like your first 20 subscribers, then you have 100, then like 500, which is halfway to 1,000, and then obviously 1,000 subscribers is a big goal for so many. So that's kind of the next big one is 500 and then on to 1,000. So definitely appreciate all the support. Really, over the past year, the channel has grown a lot. I mean, really over the past year, we've gained about 80 subscribers. It was kind of sitting at 20 for a good 3-4 years. Didn't promote it a ton. Have done, starting to promote it. You guys are starting to catch it on. It's starting, to get out there a lot more. And we've already hit 101 subscribers. So I thank you all for that. It means a lot, and definitely always look forward to these every week, doing these videos and talking all things sports. So thank you all for that. We got to start off here with the New York Yankees. So on a positive note, we got to now get into the negative, get into the stories of the day, get into the topics. Obviously, we'll get to the Suns later on. Mets tonight against Houston, and you got the Yankees who have a day off. Thank goodness they have a day off. I mean, I can't watch this team tonight. I just can't. It is pathetic. It is embarrassing. It is flat out horrible. Is the bottom, just the basic bottom line I could put this with this Yankee team. So obviously Judge is hurt, and you go into these 3 games against Boston where you have a rough homestand, where they go 2-4 last weekend in the homestand, losing 2 of 3 against Chicago. Obviously had the game get postponed due to the weather, due to the smoke and stuff from the Canada wildfires. You have that. You lose 2 of 3 there, but you salvage the final game. You go into the Boston series, you lose 2 of 3, and then you win on Tuesday against the Mets. And you get the job done on Tuesday. You beat the Mets. You take care of business. You lose a game on Wednesday that the Yankees had no excuse to lose that game. They had no business losing that game on Wednesday against the Mets, where the Mets couldn't, they were making mistakes defensively, IKF stealing home, errors on the bases for the New York Mets, brain farts in the field. Like, the Mets did not play a clean game. Horrible bullpen management by Aaron Boone. The Yankees lose 4-3. And that was the start of what was a terrible, embarrassing weekend of Yankee baseball. You go up to Boston. You have an opportunity, find a way to take 2 of 3. Boston goes into this series 34-35. Yankees go into the series 9 games up on 500. You had a day off Monday, day off Thursday. Your bullpen's pretty well rested, although it did get used a good amount in the 2 games against the Mets. But you got a well-rested bullpen. You had 2 days off already in the week. You're going up against a Red Sox team that is 34-35, 1 game below 500. They're an average baseball team at best this season. They're last in the American League East. You lost 2 of 3 games against them last week. Find a way to take 2 of 3. And the Yankees couldn't even have taken 1 game against the Red Sox this weekend. They get crushed. They get embarrassed in 3 games this weekend against the Red Sox. 15-5 in game 1. Flat out whooping. I mean, what in the world were we sitting there on Friday night watching as Yankee fans? It was an embarrassment. Domingo Germán pitched like garbage. The defense was horrific. I mean, what is Gleyber Torres doing on that ground ball? That was a routine grounder. He's lazy and throws the ball away. Now, Gleyber's been hitting. I will give him that. But again, it's those constant mistakes in the field from Gleyber Torres that you just scratch your head. Like, how does he make those mistakes? You have Willie Calhoun in that game diving for a ball that I don't know what in the world he was thinking out there in the outfield. You have Rizzo cutting a ball off at home that he should have just let go through, and they had a chance to get the runner out at home and said he cut it off and didn't give Trevino an opportunity to put the tag down. And then you lose 15-5. And other than late inning success, late inning, which Boone always says, Aaron Boone, they scored 4 runs, they didn't stop trying, we kept competing. You lost 15-5. You allowed 17 hits. You had 2 horrible errors. To be honest with you, there should have been about 3 or 4 errors. The scorers of that game in Boston were being very generous. The Red Sox probably only should have had about 13 hits, and there probably should have been about 2, 3, 4 more errors for the Yankees. It's the truth. I mean, the Yankees really probably had about 5 errors in that game. Now, they only counted some of them. They didn't count all of them. I mean, the Gleyber, it was a single, but the guy scored on a throwing error by Gleyber. That's not right. That should not be a hit. That should be an error on Gleyber Torres. It's a routine play that they mess up. Josh Donaldson. I don't think they I don't know if they gave Donaldson an error on that, the ball that he threw away, whatever it is. It was embarrassing. You lost 15-5. You knew right then and there, you kind of just knew the series was over. Now, Saturday gets postponed, and you go into yesterday, and you get outscored in the 2 games combined 10-3. You lose game 1 6-2. You lose game 2 on Sunday Night Baseball, which I don't know why. I'm sorry to all the baseball fans out there that turned on Sunday Night Baseball in hopes of maybe getting Dodgers, Giants, which was obviously a big series going in LA, a huge series win for San Francisco, or any of these other series, any of these other teams playing each other. Even if it was Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout against the horrific Kansas City Royals or, the Braves who just continue to win games and continue to dominate. Whatever it was, anything but Yankees and Red Sox for a second week in a row. I'm sorry to those baseball fans out there that had to watch Yankees and Red Sox again and watch another just bad Yankees-Red Sox game. I mean, the way the Red Sox scored, they scored on a Higgy catcher's interference is one of the runs they scored. Like the Yankees, none of them know what they're doing. They all look lost out there. You go into Boston and get swept. And look, the reality is the New York Yankees are 39-33. They're 10.5 games out of the division. At the rate we're going, there's a good chance by tomorrow night they might be fourth in the division behind Toronto. Toronto might just jump the New York Yankees. Toronto's got Miami starting tonight. Miami's not a bad team. Obviously, they just swept the Nationals, who aren't very good, but they took care of business. They did what they needed to against a Nationals team that's obviously rebuilding. The Marlins are not a bad team. So we'll see what Toronto can do, but Toronto's been playing better. Now, I know they did get beat by, obviously, Texas, but they were really struggling for a while. I mean, obviously, in their last 10, they're 4-6. They've kind of been playing more 500 baseball, but there was one point where Toronto was, 3-4 games behind the Yankees. They're now only a half game back of the Yankees. Yankees are 10.5 games back in the division. Forget about the division. The Yankees right now, if the season would to continue on this trajectory where the Angels continue to play well, and obviously the Orioles are comfortably in a wild card spot, and the Orioles are going to be a very tough team to beat come October. The Orioles are a very good team. 44-win team, got a ton of talent. Their pitching's maybe their one issue. We'll see what they do at the deadline. The Orioles are good. The Angels right now are hot. I mean, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout are dominating. You saw them go back-to-back yesterday against Zach Greinke, right? They're in a wild card spot right now, 1 game up. Orioles obviously 5.5 games up. So the Orioles are fine, and the Orioles are going to compete for the division, to be honest. I mean, the Orioles are 5 games back in the division. The division's still within reach for Baltimore. But when you look at the Yankees now, they're tied with Houston for that last wild card spot. Now, Houston's got the Mets coming up for 3 games. The Yankees got Seattle, and then they've got Texas. Seattle, who's throwing some of their better arms, and Texas, who's one of the best teams in baseball. The best team, I think, in the American League this year. I think Texas can definitely take down Tampa. One of the best teams in all baseball this season. And you can make the argument the best team in the American League. When you look at Houston, they get the Mets, who are struggling, and then they get a Dodgers team who is also struggling. Now, it's not going to be easy. It's obviously going to still be a tough series, but you expect them to at least take 2 or 3 against the Mets. There's a good chance you come out of that Seattle series and the Yankees are not in a wild card spot. There's a good chance you come out of that Seattle series, and the Yankees right now, if the season would to end, let's say, by Thursday, the Yankees are done. And I don't think people completely realize that. I think a lot of people just assume, the Yankees, it's just enough a rough stretch. With the way things have fallen, the Yankees and the Astros might be the teams fighting for a wild card spot. And who's probably going to be the team that comes out on top? Probably be the Astros, because they're better than the Yankees. They've beaten the Yankees. The Astros also kind of got off to a slow start. They kind of got better. Now they're struggling of late, lost 4 straight, but there's a whole lot more trust within Houston and their overall roster than there is with the Yankees, because we see this every single year with the Yankees. The Yankees are going nowhere. They're not going anywhere. And again, this falls on Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, and Aaron Boone, the 3 stooges that are unfortunately torturing us Yankee fans and are unfortunately leading the way for the New York Yankees. This isn't the New York Yankees. This team's embarrassing. This is a dysfunctional franchise. They do the same thing every single season. Hal Steinbrenner's big acquisition this offseason, Carlos Rodon. How many starts has Carlos Rodon made this year? None. Hal Steinbrenner's big offseason acquisition on the offensive side of the ball? I'll wait. What was it? I'll wait. Bringing back Judge? Great. You needed more than that. Josh Donaldson? Pathetic. This outfield. What are we doing? Rolling out outfielders that aren't good defensively, and you saw it again this weekend. I mean, some of the plays we saw in left field and in center and in right, everywhere, they're just embarrassing. Why is Esteban Florial sitting in AAA raking and not getting an opportunity? It can't get much worse. Jake Bauers has been fine, but you got to call somebody up for the defense. Bring some sort of competence on the defensive side of the ball. That's at least Florial can give you that. And Florial, I mean, look, the guy's had like 50 at-bats in 3 years with the Yankees. It's about an average of 16 at-bats per year. He's had such a short look at the major leagues. I don't think it's completely fair to say that Florial just can't hit. Look, he strikes out a lot. He is going to work his walks. He delivers some power. I mean, it can't be much worse than what we're watching. Why in the world is Oswald Peraza still in AAA? Call him up. What is Josh Donaldson doing for you? And for that matter, too, what in the world is Kyle Higashioka doing for you? I've said that for years now. Kyle Higashioka stinks. He's not good. Sure, he's a backup, he's borderline, but with the way the Yankees use their catchers, where they rotate Trevino and Higashioka in a lot, you need somebody better backing up Trevino than Higashioka. And to be honest with you, Trevino hasn't done much this year anyway. Defensively, sure, he's good, but offensively, he doesn't give you much. Giancarlo Stanton, through this stretch, has done nothing. Anthony Rizzo has been one of the worst players in baseball this month. I mean, the guy's batting below 100 this month. He was batting .311 at one point. His batting average is now dipped all the way to .262. He's had 4 hits in the month of June. He's batting .83. The Yankees as a team in June, batting .192. This is Cashman. It's all on Cashman. The Yankees every year, they think they're smarter than everybody. They think they're going to outsmart everybody. They think that they're sneaky and that they're making all these moves. And, we think Donaldson can return to form. Let's do our analytical approach and look at how Donaldson can regain his form. They always think they're better than everybody else. The bottom line is the league's caught up to the Yankees. We saw that last year. The Yankees are light years behind Texas, behind Baltimore, behind Tampa, even behind Houston. All of these teams, the Yankees are so far behind. They're not the Yankees anymore. This is just an organization that needs change. It's been the same guys in the organization for 20 plus years when you look how long Brian Cashman's been manager or been GM. I mean, how does Boone still have a job? Lost in the postseason 2018. Lost in the postseason 2019. Postseason lost 2020, 2021, 2022. Do you even make the postseason this year? At some point, when does Hal Steinbrenner wake up and change this and stop this from happening every single year? And to look back at the guys that the Yankees missed out on. Bryce Harper, Corey Seager. I mean, to think that the Yankees thought they were smarter than everybody else, passed up on those players, and ended up with the Josh Donaldsons of the world is just flat out pathetic on so many levels. It's the same lineup. It's literally the same lineup that they rolled out there last year. The Yankees didn't do a single thing this offseason to fix this team. They didn't. What is Volpe going to do? Volpe's going to carry you to a World Series? Is that what Volpe's going to do? I mean, look at this last year's lineup compared to this year's lineup. It's the same thing. And we get Bader and Judge back. Great. This team's not going anywhere. They're going right into the ground. Right into the ground. Last in on base percentage in June. 250 on base as a team. Last in OPS in June. 620. Got a slugging in June of 370. As a team, they're batting 230. As a team, they have an on-base percentage of 298. Their team on-base percentage has dipped below 300 for the first time since I believe it's like 1968. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how bad this Yankee team is, then I don't know what will. Even when Judge comes back. Sure, they're better. Sure, they're improved. But it's still the same team. This team's still not going anywhere. It's the same thing every year. And until Hal Steinbrenner wakes up and realizes, man, these guys aren't the right men for the job, it's going to be the same thing every single season. Brian Cashman is a horrible general manager. He's a horrible general manager. He hasn't done a single thing with this organization. He hasn't. And don't give me, he won the 2009 World Series. That wasn't Cashman's team. Sure, he built some guys, put some guys around it, but primarily, that was the remaining in the final years of the core four. That was the final run of the core four. That's what that was. And that was built in the 90s. Not by Brian Cashman. Since 2009, what have the Yankees done? They haven't gone to a single World Series. The Royals have made it to more World Series than the Yankees have since 2009. The Nationals, the New York Mets. I mean, these teams should not have more success in the last decade than the Yankees. But it's the way it is. It's the way it is. And I don't want to hear, they're in the playoffs every year. Expectations change. When you've won 27 World Series, and when you haven't won a World Series for 13 years now, we're going on 14 if they don't win one this year, which we already know that's not going to happen. I mean, this is almost like we're sitting through 1980s again. And this might even be worse because there's no change. The Yankees just roll the same garbage out every year. It's the same thing every season. And I'm sure they're going to go out the trade deadline and bring in somebody and have all of us buy in. The Yankees will win 97 games. They'll get hot. They'll win like 15 straight games. They'll be the talk of the league. Come postseason, they'll lose again. I mean, let's be honest here. They barely got past Cleveland last year. So let's stop talking about them making to the ALCS last year. They barely got past Cleveland. The Cleveland Guardians, they barely got past last year. And it's the veterans. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, he's lost it. He's lost it. DJ LeMahieu has lost it. Josh Donaldson has lost it. Rizzo, I don't even know what happened with Rizzo. Rizzo's fallen off the side of a cliff. I mean, your outfield is Willie Calhoun, Billy McKinney, IKF, and Jake Bauers. I mean, does that sound like an outfield that's going to win you a World Series? And yet you have Estevan Florial hit the most home runs in the minor leagues, and you got Oswald Peraza who hit over 300 last year with the Yankees, sitting in AAA, not helping, not doing a single thing. I mean, at some point, can you just get off the veterans? At some point, DFA Josh Donaldson, he's not good. He's lost it. He won an MVP 8 years ago. I mean, you got to stop this garbage that the Yankees always think these guys are going to regain their form. Oh, we're going to put Josh Donaldson in our analytical approach, make adjustments, and he's going to turn into the hitter he was in 2015. Give me a break. He's old. He's washed. It happens. And Stanton is horrific. The guy looks at strikes right down the middle. I mean, his at-bats are horrific. Horrific. So, the Yankees are flat out embarrassing. I'm done. I'm done with the Yankees. I mean, get me to football season. Skip over baseball season. I didn't even spend time talking about the Mets today. I mean, I could spend another 25 minutes talking about the Mets. We're 23 minutes into this one. I could spend 23 more minutes talking about how bad the New York Mets were this weekend, losing 2 of 3. For the first time in a very long time, I want to just skip the football season. Just get me to football season. I mean, the fact that we got to go through the rest of June, all of July, and August watching these 2 terrible baseball teams for the next 2 months, oh my gosh. It makes me cringe. This is going to be, it's gross. What the Yankees have turned into is gross. They're pathetic. They're embarrassing. They're going nowhere. And until Hal Steinbrenner wakes up, it's going to be the same thing every single season. It's where we are. They're dysfunctional. The Yankees are dysfunctional. And this front office won't wake up. And they don't wake up. And Aaron Boone can still sit there and there's no accountability. It doesn't matter. I mean, these guys are going out there every day. They can make 5 errors in the field. They're going to be out there the next day. I mean, Josh Donaldson, hit a home run. He earns another day. And, Stanton. Are we really going to do this on Giancarlo Stanton again? Boone didn't put him in left field yesterday because they didn't want him playing the back-to-back, putting him in DH. Like, the guy is he's an athlete. Put him out there. He's a professional athlete making all this money, and you can't put him on his legs for 2 straight games. Pathetic. Pathetic. Then I don't even want him on the team. Get him out of the team. Get me players that are going to bring some energy. Get me players that care. Because I'll tell you what, Stanton doesn't care. Josh Donaldson doesn't care. Bring in guys that care about winning before you bring in all these other high-paid guys. None of these guys care. Cashman doesn't care. Boone doesn't care because they all have jobs. Cashman got extended. Boone got the 4-year extension. Don't worry, we got 2 more years of Aaron Boone. 2 more years of Aaron Boone. And the way the Yankees like to do it too. They don't like to move. It took them a good chunk of time to move on from Aaron Hicks. They ain't getting out of this Aaron Boone contract. They're going to let Aaron Boone ride this thing out. So, it's pathetic. I mean, it's like... Why? I'm speechless. I don't even know why do the Yankees feel like, what do the Yankees see in Josh Donaldson that we don't? What do they see? Nothing. So, Judge, great. He'll be back. Good. Happy. He's the best player on the team. He's the best player, in the league. But that too just shows you how bad of a job Brian Cashman has done. Is the whole, Aaron Judge is coming back. Great. He's our only, he's their best player. Great. Aaron Judge back. Fine. You start winning. But it shows you outside of Aaron Judge what this roster is. That's a direct reflection on the GM. A direct reflection on Brian Cashman is what this roster is outside of Aaron Judge. Cashman hasn't done a single thing to improve this roster. It's the same garbage. It's the same garbage every year. Too reliant on the home run. Don't care about contact. Terrible with runners in scoring position. Oh, home run, home. It's the same boring offense, boring team we watch every single season. This isn't the Yankees. The Yankees aren't the Yankees anymore. They're just not. They're not that big. They're not. I mean, the Yankees are not even anywhere close to what this team used to be. Nobody... the Yankees don't scare you anymore. They don't. They just went into Boston and got swept by a Red Sox team that's slightly above average at best. So, that's where we sit. That's where we sit with the Yankees. And I've been saying this for years too. And I hate to, wait till the trade deadline. What has Cashman done at the trade deadline? What has he done? Joey Gallo? Frankie Montes? Sonny Gray, Andrew Benintendi. I mean, so you Scott Esfrost. Oh, he's done for the year. Lou Trevino. Yeah, he's injured. Okay, fine. You want to give him Bader? Fine, go ahead. But even Bader, he can't stay healthy. He's already 2 IL stints in this season. I mean, and last year too, he barely played. I mean, I know he was very good in the postseason. I get that, and I don't want to sit here and crush Bader because Bader's been good. But there are blemishes to Bader too. So we can sit here and say, wait till the trade deadline. Pick up Cody Bellinger. That's going to help. What gives you Cashman he hasn't done anything. He's horrific. He's a horrible GM. Horrible GM. I can't wait to the day Cashman is out of there. You need change. The league's caught up with you. You're not this big, exciting team anymore. You're just not. There's so many teams now better than the Yankees. The Yankees aren't that top-tier organization anymore. They just aren't. The rest of the league's caught up to you. And the fact that they got swept last year in the ALCS and didn't do a single thing to this roster just tells you all you need to know about how the Yankees feel about winning. They don't care about winning. They don't care about their fans. So why should I go to games? Why should I watch if they don't care? So, I'm done with this type of Yankee team. I really am. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. So what if they go on so what if they win? The wins don't even matter anymore because we all know at the end of the day this team's not going anywhere. Sure, they'll make a wild card game. They'll win the wild card. Great. We'll get all excited for the postseason. And then they'll lose in the ALCS. Or they'll lose in the ALDS to the Astros. Or they'll go to the ALCS and they'll get swept by the Texas Rangers. There's about 3-4 teams in the American League that are 10 times better than the Yankees. Yankees aren't going anywhere. They aren't. So, enjoy it. I actually think, deep down inside, the only way there's change is made is if they miss the playoffs. So go ahead, miss the playoffs. Rather you miss the playoffs and cause us more pain, extra pain, for extra 2 weeks of playing just so you can get swept by the Houston Astros again. So, it's embarrassing. Yankees baseball, everybody. Never going to change. Doesn't change. And unfortunately, there's it's just the way it is. This is the way the Yankees like to do it. This is the Yankee way. The Yankee way. Love it. Love it. Worst baseball team I've ever watched. Yankees baseball. Enjoy it, everybody. All right, so now I move on here to the rest of the news today. There was obviously, a big story yesterday. Bradley Beal gets sent over to the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul included in the deal as well. Or Bradley Beal goes from the Wizards to the Suns. Chris Paul goes from the Suns to the Wizards. I keep getting them mixed up. And, this is one of these moves that, we've all been waiting for a while now to happen. Obviously, the Bradley Beal in D.C. for a while there with the Wizards ever since the start of his career. His days with John Wall, and most recently, where he's had a couple really big seasons the past couple years. Obviously, put up 31 points per game, about a year ago. And, last offseason, you had conversations. You heard rumors at the trade deadline. Even last year's trade deadline, you heard rumors. And then you go into last year's offseason, and you heard, rumors. And you go into this season, and you're like, all right, trade deadline. Does Bradley Beal get dealt? The Wizards are out of it. And then he doesn't get dealt. And now you go into this offseason, and again, it's like, Bradley Beal, again, on the market. Do the Heat go after him? Do the Nets, not the Nets. Nobody thought the Nets would go after him. But the Knicks go after him. You heard some rumors that the Knicks potentially are in on Bradley Beal. And then now you finally get the news that Bradley Beal has been traded to the Phoenix Suns. So the full terms of the deal are Bradley Beal goes to the Suns. They get Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd as well. Now, those two guys were just added. We heard that today, that those two guys were added. Obviously, Jordan Goodwin was included, but Isaiah Todd, who was in the G League, he's a forward, probably not going to give you much. He's also out in the deal. So we're still kind of waiting for everything to become official, but this is right where you're at right now. It's Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, Isaiah Todd going to the Suns, and the Wizards get Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, several second-round picks, and a pick swap as well. And look, from a Wizards point of view, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best potential package you can get ever. I think they're, obviously Landry Shamet's not a bad role player. Is a solid piece. Can give you a little bit of shooting, a little bit of that 3-point, shooting, and give you a little bit of that. Can spread the floor a little bit, but that's about it. He's more of a depth guy, more of a, just kind of a role player, just kind of your average, guard that can shoot a little bit and provide a little bit of an offensive energy. That's about it. Now, the Wizards are in a tough spot. With the way Bradley Beal's contract is, he had a no-trade clause. They were kind of handcuffed as to what they could get in return for Bradley Beal and what, where they were going to trade him. He had the no-trade clause, so obviously there was a lot of say in there. The Wizards couldn't just trade him to wherever they wanted, to wherever they can get the best deal. This was more of the best situation for Bradley Beal as opposed to the best possible return for the Washington Wizards. So, in terms of what the Wizards got, look, CP3, they're probably going to move on from him. You're already hearing rumors that the Clippers are involved. You're already hearing rumors that the Warriors might be involved. So you're already hearing there's other teams out there that are looking at potentially getting CP3. He's probably not going to be with the Wizards. He's going to be somewhere else. He's going to be with a team that can contend for a championship. The Wizards aren't a team that's going to contend for a championship this season. They get several second-round picks. They get a pick swap. They're a rebuilding team. They've got some younger pieces. They've obviously got a guy like, they've, Kristaps Porzingis, that's about it. They've got Kuzma. They obviously traded, Rui Hachimura at the deadline last year. So they're really blowing it up. They're really tearing it up. They went 35-47 last year. They're young. They're continuing to try to get young. They're building young talent. That's all what the Wizards are doing. They're going through a rebuild. They're not a good team. They're 12 games under 500 last year. That's just what the Wizards are. So, again, CP3, Landry Shamet, CP3 most likely traded. But in terms of, again, they got several second-round picks. They couldn't get a first. They got a pick swap. It wasn't the best possible return, but they put themselves in that situation, giving Bradley Beal that big contract, which obviously now you look back on and you say, all right, well, going back to 2012 to now, he's obviously done a lot for the organization, done a lot for the Wizards. But, at the end of the day, they didn't get a ton back for him, but part of it was the way his contract structured and where he ultimately wanted to go. So that's the Wizards side of it. Now, this is a guy last year that put up 23.2 points per game. He had 3.9 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists. He shot the ball at a 50% clip, which is pretty impressive. Throughout his career, he's a 46% field from the field shooter. Last season, he shot 50% from the field. That was a career high for him. So he was efficient. He's a very good scorer. He's a career 22.1 points per game type guy. That's what he's going to give you. He's not an excellent shooter by any means. You know, there's been some seasons where he's gotten over the 40% mark, but all in all in his career is a 37.2 shooter from three. Not a bad shooter from the field, but from three, you know, he can hit him deep. You know, he takes about, 5-6 shots per game. He'll hit about, 1 to 2, 2.5, 3 of those per game. But he's a big-time scorer. He's going to score. He put up 31 points per game in 2020, 2021. He had 30 points per game the year before that. He put up 23.2 per game each of the last 2 seasons. This is a guy that's going to score. He's going to put up a ton of points. He's going to be able to shoot a little bit. He's going to get to the net. He can score in many different ways. He's going to put up big-time numbers. That's what Bradley Beal is going to do. So the Suns get another big-time score. Look, I don't mind this fit for the Suns. You're basically getting a better, younger version of a Chris Paul in terms of what CP3 was as a guard. You're basically getting a better version of that in Bradley Beal. Like, that's what the Suns are getting. Chris Paul wasn't good enough to help them get over the top. They obviously got to a finals with him. They lost last year to the Nuggets. Bradley Beal's better. He's a big-time upgrade in that regard. That's going to put up a ton of points. He's going to give you 20, 25 a night. He can do that easily. We've seen it each of the last, 3 seasons, 4 seasons really, where he put up 30 a night. 2 years ago, each of the last 2 seasons, 23.2 points per game. He gives you that. So you have a big 3 now in Phoenix. That is obviously Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, which is good. That's an exciting starting 5 with a lot of scoring, a lot of offense. But when you look at, and you obviously also add DeAndre Ayton into that mix, and Josh Okogie, however you pronounce his name, you have him as well in that starting 5. You look at the rest of it, though, and the depth becomes a little bit of a question. Now, you have Cameron Payne, who's not bad, can give you about, last year gave him about 10 a night, not a bad role player. And Terrence Ross, who obviously is, a veteran, has been in the league for a, pretty long time. He's actually been in the league the exact same time I think Bradley Beal's been in the league. But 32 years old, older than Bradley Beal, another guard. So he's your other guy. But other than that, you have Torrey Craig. Sure, they have TJ Warren all the way down there who, can maybe provide a little bit of a scoring punch. But this Suns team, I would imagine, has to be far from over this offseason in terms of adding pieces. Because when you look at it, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, they're going to score points. They're going to score a lot. They're going to be in games every night. They're going to be one of the better teams in the Western Conference. No doubt about it. But when you look at their bench, who's the sixth man? Who's their, who's their guy? When you had Mikal Bridges, they had Cam Johnson, they had all those other younger pieces. Now they've got Cam Payne, they've got Terrence Ross, TJ Warren. Sure, those are all right, but is Torrey Craig going to come off and, light it up as a sixth man? Probably not. I mean, the Suns' bench now, their depth is non-existent. That was a problem they had last year, was they didn't have much bench depth, especially after the Kevin Durant trade. Now, you're going into the offseason all right, you need more depth, you need more role, you need more pieces coming off the bench, need a legitimate sixth-man type guy, and you look at it now and it's like, where is this? And I think some people thought potentially a CP3 trade could include, role players, bench players, guys to help your bench. Instead, it includes Bradley Beal. Again, I don't mind this move in terms of what it does to the starting lineup. I mean, the starting lineup can score, and it can score at a high rate. But the bench, these guys aren't going to play 48 minutes a night. So that's my concern, is in close games, if the bench needs to come in, you have role players, you have guys on the bench, sixth man, seventh man, those guys that the Suns don't have. Torrey Craig's not going to help you against a good, deep team. Sure, campaign and maybe, TJ Warren, sure, he might be able to get hot at some points, but Damian Lee, is Damian Lee going to light you up? No. So they need more depth. They don't have much depth. The Suns don't. So I'd assume they're not done yet. Again, when you look at the starting lineup, you like where it's at. It's lethal, and there's a lot of scoring there. But when it comes to the bench, if this is the way it stays, the Suns are going to be in a lot of closer games just because of their lack of scoring, the lack of offense, and the lack of talent that they've got behind this starting five. So that's the one issue with it, is they got no bench depth. And Landry Shamet was probably their best player on their bench going into the postseason last year, and they just got rid of him. A guy that can give you a little bit of a three-point shot just like that. They got rid of him. So now you look at it and you say, who's that guy now? What is it, Torrey Craig? I mean, come on now. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Suns approach this the rest of the way. I don't mind this move for the Suns. I think it's fine, but the bench is a little concerning. I think probably most Suns fans can probably agree the depth there behind Kevin Durant, behind Bradley Beal, behind Devin Booker, obviously Okiji, and then obviously DeAndre Ayton as well has got to be better. Has got to be deeper. So we'll see. This is, as I mentioned earlier, now another super team Kevin Durant has joined. Was obviously with the Rockets and a big three there with Westbrook and Harden. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a building of a super team. All of them were younger at that point, but he was with the big three there. You go to the Golden State Warriors, was with the big three there. You can technically, if you want to call it a big four, if you want to add Draymond Green to the mix there, but it was Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and obviously KD, resulted in 2 championships. You go to the Nets, you had the big three with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and now Kevin Durant, obviously. Now he goes to Phoenix. It was him and Booker, and now it's him, Booker, Bradley Beal, and KD. Or KD, Booker, and Bradley Beal. So he's been around. KD wants to win a championship with somebody other than Steph Curry. He wants to prove that he can win without Steph Curry. And I think that's evident here, going out and getting Bradley Beal. And supposedly he was a big, big leading force in bringing in Bradley Beal and making sure it got done. All right, so now I move on here to the games tonight. So you got the Mets and the Astros tonight. Mets come into this one 33-38, 5 games under 500. Astros 39-33. You got Scherzer on the mound. For the Mets, he's 5-2 with a 4.45 ERA. And for the Astros, they got Hunter Brown on the mound. He's 6-3 with a 3.35 ERA, over under 7.5. 8:10 Eastern tonight. Thank goodness the Yankees don't play tonight, so I don't have to watch that garbage. So they'll be back tomorrow though, and you got Cole on the mound, so he gives you a chance there. I mean, you could probably say Cole and Aaron Judge are the 2 guys that legitimately carry this team. Just imagine where the Yankees would be if they didn't have Garrett Cole or Aaron Judge. Just imagine. It's horrible where they would be without those guys. I mean, again, their bullpen, is obviously, Boone's management of the bullpen in that second Mets game was not mind-numbing to me. I don't know what the heck he was doing. But, I mean, again, I don't know. Either way, Yankees stink. But, obviously, if you remove the best players from any team, it wouldn't be good. But, if you removed, I don't know, just thinking of a team. If you remove 2 good players from a team, obviously they're going to take a hit. But I feel like with the Yankees, you just remove Judge from the Yankees, and they stink. You remove one player from another team, for example, I really can't think of a team right now with a 1-star player. If you remove Trout, and this isn't anything against Trout. This is more showing how bad the Yankees are. If you remove Trout from the Angels, now they haven't been much competitive, but they could probably still be competent because they'll have Shohei, who, I mean, that's not a great example because Shohei is a rare breed of baseball player that can do both. That's not a great example. Try and think of another example of another star in another team. The Dodgers. And I know the Dodgers are struggling now, but let's just say you took away Mookie Betts from the Dodgers. Could Freddie Freeman, Kershaw, Julio Urias, when he's obviously once he gets back and healthy, you have JD Martinez that provides some pop. Could they still, Max Muncy, could they still find a way to be competent? Probably. Or if you just had Mookie Betts, which is obviously what they had. If you just had Mookie Betts when they won the World Series, And at the time, obviously, they Bellinger and some other guys, but and obviously Seager, and I know Trey Turner. So a little different there. But if you remove, like, Freddie Freeman and you just have Betts on that team, you could probably, and that's not a knock on those guys. It's a knock on the Yankees the way they built their roster. There's nothing around these guys. Like, if you remove Judge from the they're horrible. They're one of the worst teams in baseball when you remove Judge from the Yankees. That's how bad it is. I mean, I'm trying to think of another team. Like, see, there's not many teams out there that has one star. Like, there's one star on that team. But the Yankees, it really is one star. I mean, Cole's good, but with the way this offense is, I mean, you almost have to throw shutouts in order for them to win. So, it's bad. It's ugly. It's embarrassing on many levels. But we'll see. They'll be back in action tomorrow. So, that'll do it for the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. I'll be back here tomorrow talking all things sports. Yeah, definitely go check that out. So, appreciate it. Thank you all again for 100 subscribers. Means a lot. Looking forward to continuing to make these videos and build this platform and all that stuff, especially as we get into the summer here and get into Jets training camp and all that exciting stuff. So as always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.